for a new Fiction Friday. Today, we're continuing Chapter 2, Quiet, in the book Lad, a Dog, by Albert Payson Terhune. Lad's mistress is finally getting well from her deathly illness, and Lad is happy as a pup. About as crazy as one, too, as he goes tearing through the neighborhood in his joy, being as much a scamp as I ever am. Silly Lad. Let's see what happens next. As always, the link to the ebook is in the description below if you want to read along. All day long, complaints came pouring in to the master. Lad had destroyed the whole set of cream. Lad had chased the red cow till it would be a miracle if she didn't fall sick of it. Lad had scared poor dear little Peter Grimm so badly that the cat seemed likely to spend the rest of his 9 lives squalling in the treetop and crossly refusing to come down. Lad had spoiled a Sunday leg of mutton up at the lodge. Lad had made a perfectly respectable horse run madly away for nearly 25 feet, and had given the horse's owner a blasphemous half-mile run over a plowed field after a cherished and ravished lap rope. Lad had well-nigh killed a neighbor's particularly killable dog. Lad had wantonly destroyed the nurse's very newest and most expensive uniform. All day it was Lad, Lad, Lad. Lad, it seemed, was a storm center, whence radiated complaints that ran the whole gamut from tears to lurid profanity. And to each and every complainant, the master made the same answer. Leave him alone. We're just out of hell, Lad and I. He's doing the things I'd do myself if I had the nerve. Which, of course, was a manifestly asinine way for a grown man to talk. Long after dusk, Lad pattered meekly home, very tired and quite sane. His spell of imbecility had worn itself out. He was once more his calm, dignified self, though not a little ashamed of his babyish pranks, and mildly wondering how he had come to behave so. Still, he could not grieve over what he had done. He could not grieve over anything just yet. The mistress was alive, and while the craziness had passed, the happiness had not. Tired, drowsily at peace with all the world, he curled up under the piano and went to sleep. He slept so soundly that the locking of the door for the night did not rouse him. But something else did. Something that occurred long after everyone on the place was sound asleep. Lad was joyously pursuing, through the forest aisles of dreamland, a whole army of squirrels that had not sense enough to climb trees, when in a moment he was wide awake and on guard. Far off, very far off, he heard a man walking. Now, to a trained dog, there is as much difference in the sound of human footfalls as, to humans, there is difference in the aspect of human faces. A belated countryman walking along the highway, a furlong distance, would not have awakened Lad from sleep. Also, he knew and could classify, at any distance, the footsteps of everyone who lived on the place. But the steps that brought him wide awake and on the alert that night did not belong to anyone on the place's people, nor were they the steps of anybody who had a right to be on the premises. Someone had climbed the fence at a distance from the drive and was crossing the grounds, obliquely, toward the house. It was a man, and he was still nearly 200 yards away. Moreover, he was walking stealthily and pausing every now and then as if to reconnoiter. No human at that distance could have heard the steps. No dog could have helped hearing them. Had the other dogs been at home instead of in the boarding kennels, the place would by this time have been re-echoing with barks. Both scent and sound would have given them ample warning of the stranger's presence. To Lad, on the lower floor of the house, where every window was shut, the aid of scent was denied. Yet his sense of hearing was enough. Plainly he heard the softly advancing steps, heard and read them. He read them for an intruder's, read them for the steps of a man who was afraid to be seen or heard, and who was employing all the caution in his power. A booming, trumpeting bark of warning sprang into Lad's throat and died there. The sharp command, "Quiet," was still in force. Even in his madness that day, he had uttered no sound. He strangled back the tumultuous bark and listened in silence. He had risen to his feet and had come out from under the piano. In the middle of the living room he stood, head lowered, ears pricked. His ruff was abristle. A ridge of hair rose grotesquely from the shaggy mass of coat along his spine. His lips had slipped back from his teeth, and so he stood and waited. The shuffling soft steps were nearer now. Down through the trees they came, and then onto the springy grass of the lawn. Now they crunched lightly on the gravel of the drive. Lad moved forward a little and again stood at attention. The man was climbing to the veranda. The vines rustled ever so slightly as he brushed past them. His footfall sounded slightly on the veranda itself. Next there was a faint clicking noise at the old-fashioned lock of one of the bay windows. Presently, by half inches, the window began to rise. Before it had risen an inch, Lad knew that it was no one with whose scent he was familiar. Another pause, followed by the faintest scratching, as the man ran a knife blade along the crack of the inner wooden blinds in search of the catch. The blinds parted slowly. Over the windowsill the man threw a leg, and he stepped down, noiselessly, into the room. He stood there a second, evidently listening, and before he could stir or breathe, something in the darkness hurled itself upon him. Wow, what an exciting note to end on! Good boy, Lad, being on alert and protecting his home against prowlers like that. I do the same for my home. I bark at people at the door, raccoons that don't belong in my attic, and other dogs on the TV screen. I even bark at my own reflection sometimes, because I don't know if it is friend or foe. I must protect my pet parents from all things. I even barked at my uncle when he came to visit for Thanksgiving. But in my defense, he did show up at 4 in the morning. No stranger's ever been in my house at 4 in the morning before, so I had every right to bark at him. All was well, though, once Mommy introduced us. Stay tuned next Friday for the last exciting part of Chapter 2 of Lad. And be sure to come back on Monday for a fun holiday Music Monday song. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Bye!